I have spent a lot of money on airports, like genuinely concerning amounts. The kind of amounts where if I showed you my purchase history, you'd stage an intervention. And then I found out that half of them have freeware alternatives that look just as good. Some of them are even arguably better. So consider this my video therapy. All of these airports cost nothing, and maybe, just maybe, I can save you from becoming me. Let's go. If you've been in flight simulation for more than about 5 minutes, you've heard of Kai Tak, the legendary Hong Kong airport that closed in 1998, the one with that approach. Runway 13, the IGS, the 47-degree right-hand turn at the checkerboard while you're skimming over rooftops. Try not to think about the fact that commercial pilots used to do this with hundreds of passengers on board. Pilots used to call it one of the most challenging airports in commercial aviation, and now you can do it. Asobo added Kai Tak with the 40th anniversary edition, and honestly, it's pretty solid out of the box, but with this enhancement pack from FlightSim.to, it goes from pretty solid to genuinely brilliant. It has over 6,600 downloads, and was last updated to version 0.5.6 in August 2025. So it's still actively managed and updated when it needs to be. You get improved approach lighting with multiple intensity options, upgraded nav data, billboard replacements, and a GSX profile if that's something that you care about. It takes the Asobo base and polishes it into something that actually does justice to the legend. There are a few issues though I have to mention. A few floating lights around the runway at night, and some dimensional quirks inherited from Guy's original mesh that can't be fixed without rebuilding from scratch. You'll also need Samsung 3D's Hong Kong City Times if you want to go payware, or Kaze's Hong Kong Kai Tak City add-on if you want to keep it fully freeware. Both work, one costs money, the other doesn't. But honestly, for content that you already own, plus a free enhancement, this is about as good as Kai Tak can get, and more than rivals what some developers charge £20 for. If you want to prove that you can fly rather than just programming an FMC and then watching YouTube videos for 3 hours, Kai Tak is waiting. Good luck, you're gonna need it. Okay, so checkerboard survived, ego intact, barely. We're heading northeast now into Japanese airspace, the Okinawa prefecture. And this next developer has done something I genuinely cannot explain. 70 megabytes. That is the size of Ishigaki Airport by KaiSim. And somehow, they've crammed in a fully modelled terminal interior with animated passengers who actually walk around like they've got places to be. Glass jetways, a control tower, cargo facilities, the Japanese Coast Guard office and their hangars, an approach light bridge. I legitimately do not understand how this is even possible. There has to be some sort of dark magic involved here, some ancient Japanese compression technique passed through the generations of developers. Please KaiSim, teach me the ways of the LOD. Genuinely stunning tropical scenery that you'll be enjoying from your desk while it's absolutely pissing it down outside and your heating's on. Peak flight sim really. And if you've watched my Asia Payware video, shameless plug right there, links in the description, you might have grabbed MK Studios Naha, so you know what that means, right? Okinawa island hopping. The only real downside is that you do need to download quite a few livery packs to get it working. The Japanese airport's model library, windy things and a few others. But honestly, it takes like 10 to 15 minutes to set up and it's absolutely worth the effort. Absolute no-brainer for me. And speaking of Japan, remember how I mentioned the Kai Tak checkerboard approach earlier? Well, Osaka Itami has a cousin, and they call it the Itami curve. When the wind's coming from the east, you fly the ILS to runway 32 left, descend to minimums, then curve around and land on 14 right instead. It's the same principle as the old Hong Kong approach, threading through obstacles on a visual turn that keeps air traffic controllers awake at night. And with world updates dropping new photogrammetry across the Osaka area, this approach now looks absolutely f***ing mental. Kado T spent over 260 hours alone building this airport from scratch, half a year of their life, and I thought I had a problem. Turns out we're all in this together, just varying degrees of unwell. The really astonishing part is the file size, just 59 megabytes, custom jetways, 3D passengers, accurate taxiway signage and markings, even those flashing guidance lights that exist on actual Osaka city streets to guide you in during the approach. Not only this, but the roof has garden features with fences and plants. Parking garages have cars in them. If someone slapped a 15 quid price tag on this, I genuinely wouldn't blink. It's absolutely essential if you're flying in Japan. Go give it a download. And since you're clearly some kind of misogynist who loves punishing yourself with difficult approaches, I've got another one for you. Paro sits at 7,300 feet in a valley where the mountains quite literally tower over your approach altitude. It's VFR only, daylight hours only, and the kind of approach where your autopilot is absolutely not going to save you.
Alright, Margaret, get everybody strapped in. Get everybody strapped in tight.
Asobo handcrafted Paro Airport for the MSFS 2020 and it looked genuinely great, but then they upgraded it for 2024 and somehow made it look worse. Ground textures were horrible, the taxiway layout was just flat out wrong. Progress, nice one Asobo. But even beyond the rescue mission, this add-on fixes problems that existed in both versions. Stock parking classifications were set to the wrong category, apron layout was wrong, taxiways needed work. All of this has now been sorted. Not just a facelift, a proper enhancement. There's a reason why 45,000 people have downloaded this enhancement mod. That number tells you everything about how badly the community wanted this fixed. And no, I can't show you any footage of a successful landing here. I'll let you fill in the gap as to why. Kuwait isn't exactly the first destination that springs to mind when you're planning a route. It doesn't have the dramatic mountain approaches of Paro or the historical legend of Kai Tak. It's just Kuwait. Over 157,000 downloads, a 1.47GB install size, years of active development and maintenance. And you don't just get the airport either. YAG has built the entire surrounding city from scratch. Custom jetways, terminal interiors, the works. And what really struck me was scrolling through the download page comments and finding former Kuwait Airways staff saying how this scenery brought back memories, which is exactly the kind of authenticity that we want. Performance is pretty good too, solid frames, stable, incredibly well optimized for the level of detail that you're getting. The main drawback, however, is that the taxiway layout is outdated for VATSIM use, and a couple of users have reported GSX freezing issues with the custom jetways. Beyond ATC also struggles with parking detection here as well. But overall, this fills a genuine gap in a region that deserves more attention. If you're flying Middle Eastern operations and you don't want to bounce between Dubai and Doha constantly, Kuwait gives you a proper alternative. Right, we are now crossing into Europe now, from the Gulf to the Bosphorus, the bridge between continents, and a freeware project that has been through absolute hell. Multiple versions floating around, split downloads, a description page that reads like someone who has genuinely had it with the comment section. In capitals, underlined, a lot. I honestly feel that energy. This developer has spent 2 years building Istanbul using actual chart data, YouTube footage, and personal videos from real flights, and the result is genuinely impressive when it works. There are custom 3D terminals, over 1,000 individual ground markings, proper aerial imagery, jetways with Turkish Airlines branding. This is clearly a labour of love from someone who cares deeply about getting it right. The main issue though is performance, and this is where opinions differ wildly. I've personally never had any problems with it, but others have reported their frames cratering into single digits the moment that they look at the terminal. There is a light version available that strips back most of the projected mesh, which does help, but you lose a lot of the detail in the process. And we can't forget about the payware version by Scenery TR Design. And in all honesty, if I had to choose between that one and this one, it's a mixed bag. It's unfortunately one of those situations where neither option is particularly amazing. The freeware is a passion project with performance gremlins, whereas the payware is slightly more polished in some areas but rougher in others and costs you actual money. And my advice is give this freeware a go first. It's free for starters, and if your system handles it, you've saved yourself some cash and supported a developer who actually gives a damn. And if it murders your frame rates, well, at least you know before spending any sort of cash. Right, now we're going to head properly north. 400 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle. They call Tromsø the Paris of the North, and I have absolutely no idea why. It's frozen, it's dark half the year. Well, actually, maybe it is like Paris after all. Simulations have their Tromsø, which is £18, but Togstad SP made one completely for free. With a more accurate layout, better performance, and visually, it's not that far off. I love this hobby sometimes. This is Norway's 5th busiest airport, a hub for all those regional Finnmark routes. If you're doing any kind of Scandinavian flying, you're probably going to end up here eventually. And Togstad SP has given us custom 3D models for most of the buildings, all done with PBR textures. The runway textures themselves look really good, like really good. In fact, I showed them to my 12-year-old and they called them fire, which I think is a compliment these days. They've also modelled the wind farm that you see on approach, and the winter snow textures really give that authentic Arctic atmosphere. The developers have been actively updating it too, responding to feedback, tweaking things here and there, which is always a good thing to see. But honestly, flying into Tromsø, seeing the Arctic coastline, and having arguably a pretty damn close visual quality to payware, this delivers that for nothing, so it's a no-brainer. So staying in this part of the world, we're heading into Romania. Bucharest to be exact, Romania's largest airport, and a Polish developer has gone and built the whole thing from scratch. What is really extraordinary is that this developer only started making scenery in October 2025, just 3 months ago. And they've already started something with perfect scores across the board. Not a single person has docked a star so far. You've got handcrafted 3D models for the terminal, buildings, aprons and taxiways. Ground markings are accurate and properly detailed. The latest update even added in custom jetway models, which immediately adds another level of polish to the airport. And it's just over 1 GB to install with solid performance throughout. Terminal interiors aren't there yet, but the developer has been pretty upfront about that being planned for the future. And given what they've done in this time, I have zero doubt it's coming. Pirelli of course have their Bucharest, which costs nearly £20, and I'll be really honest here, it is shit. The modelling is basic at best, and for what they're charging, you expect something way more polished. Save yourself £20, download this instead, and go fly some Romanian routes you've probably never even tried before. You might even learn something about Bucharest. God knows I did. Alright, let's head home, to the land where Brexit means Brexit, and your passport is blue.
Blue.
Gatwick, you've probably heard of it. Every freeware list on YouTube ever made has had this airport in it, and they all just say the same thing, but there's a reason for that. Here's what they don't mention. The developer, MKVY, actually works at Gatwick, like physically as a ground worker. For 4 years, he's been building this thing, updating it every single time something changes at the real airport. And I know, before you say it, InnyBuilds obviously has their Gatwick for £20. It is a solid rendition, but I've also seen so many people buy it, try it, and immediately go back to MKVY's. Not because InnyBuilds is bad, but because it's just that good, that accurate even. Ground textures are excellent, the jetway liveries actually get updated when the real ones change, like when Uber sponsorship went up, MKVY added it. There's a whole ecosystem around this airport now as well. Enhancement packs adding thousands of extra objects, GSX profiles with different configurations. It's got its own little community, which is genuinely mental for a freeware scenery. Performance is the only real weak spot though. The South Terminal and Pier 3 specifically go absolutely nuclear on your CPU and GPU. Not the whole airport, just that particular bit, but 500,000 downloads free for an airport that rivals or even beats some payware alternatives. Meanwhile, I've spent actual money on airports half as good as this. Don't be like me, don't spend money on something worse. Okay, wheels up from Gatwick means we are contractually obligated to land somewhere with cheap beer for hen-dos and stag nights. Mallorca it is then. Sun, sea and approximately 14 million British tourists descending every summer for sangria and sunburn. Trust me, I know. Mrs. Fuller suggested that we actually go to Mallorca instead of me flying there virtually 17 times. I told her the freeware doesn't cost as much. Mallorca is one of the busiest leisure airports in Europe, and until recently your freeware options were, let's say, limited. Then Euroscene turned up. This is a passion project from 2 developers, and the story goes that one of them went on holiday to Palma, noticed there wasn't even a decent freeware, and then just started messing around in Blender. A few months later, and that turned into this. And still actively being updated. In fact, the June 2025 patch added a new cargo terminal, improved night lighting, and taxiway edge reflectors. All terminals have been custom 3D modelled, custom jetways, a control tower, even the fire station and military apron with helicopter parking. If you're flying Mediterranean routes, this one is an essential. Ryanair, EasyJet, TUI, everyone flies here, and Euroscene has given you a genuinely excellent airport for the grand total of nothing. Sometimes the community just delivers. Now we'll stay on the Spanish coast for the next one. More Ryanair territory. More British tourists turning lobster red. I'm sensing a theme about my holiday choices here. Hergy 1234's Alicante has been kicking around flights in TO for years now, and it is solid. Ground textures are clean and properly weathered. None of that default smeared Vaseline look. You know what I mean. Custom jetways, accurate terminal layout, apron markings that actually line up with where your aircraft should be. And night lighting deserves a special mention too. It has a nice ambience about it, thanks to the Mediterranean glow as you're taxiing in your Ryanair rotation. It's not any build's level of quality, don't get me wrong, but it's far better than default. And importantly, it actually runs really well. It loads quickly, performs smoothly, and doesn't try to murder your VRAM. Yes, there's pilot's payware at Alicante, but it's just ass. There are bumps on the taxiway that will rattle your fillings loose. Taxiway lines are literally painted over the default scenery, and if you park at gate 49, your aircraft literally sinks into a f***ing hole.
Shut up and take my money!
Meanwhile, the freeware just works. It's just not going to blow your mind with animated interiors or parallax windows or whatever the latest gimmick is. But it does the job, it does it well, and sometimes that's all you need. Right, let's head across the Mediterranean into Africa now, a region that Flight Sim has basically forgotten exists. Yes, you've got Marrakesh if you're feeling touristy, or Casablanca if you want a big hub, but Rabat, the actual capital, is basically ignored, which is a shame, but honestly, JoJo 92's Rabat is properly good. This is a joint civil-military airport. Royal Moroccan Air Force shares the site with commercial aircraft, so you've got a slightly different atmosphere compared to your standard concrete hub. The scenery includes corrected ILS, and the localizer and glide slope both have been fixed from the default. Runway lighting has also been reworked. A Royal Aero Club building is modelled. Even the catering facility is there. My favourite part, honestly, is the ground textures and apron markings. They are insanely good for a freeware airport. And the night lighting is just wow. Overall, this airport isn't just a case of the freeware is better than the payware either. There is no payware. This is it. The only option that you have right now. And the fact that it is this good for free when nobody else even attempted it, that's exactly why freeware developers are heroic in my eyes. Go give it a try. And across the Atlantic we go, finally, Caribbean time. And if the name Track 991 sounds familiar, it should. This is a default airport enhancement mod rather than a ground up rebuild, but the difference is just night and day. Literally, night and day actually. The night lighting here is amazing. You get that warm Caribbean glow across the terminal, the apron is properly lit, runway lighting that doesn't look like someone has scattered glow sticks everywhere. Ground textures have also been reworked with lovely apron detailing and realistic markings. Track 991 actually updated these after early feedback, which tells you something about how he approaches his work. One of the terminals is still marked as in progress, which the developers have been upfront about. It is a freeware and it's always a work in progress, and he's not pretending otherwise, which is refreshing, honestly. Oh, and a fun fact, the real Grantley Adams has a Concorde Museum sitting there permanently. Just some aviation history if you want to know. Oh, you didn't? Oh, I'll see myself out. Right, this is a weird detour, so bear with me, but we're jumping north to Wisconsin, because Builds lost their minds and gave away a full payware quality airport for free. I'm not questioning it, neither should you. And it's not even this half-assed promotional thing either. Handmade ground textures, custom static traffic, accurate taxi signage, LOD optimization on every model, and the night lighting is great. Plus you'll have full INI Manager integration so you can configure performance settings. It's the standard Builds feature list, just free. I love the terminal interiors, which are properly populated with passengers, coffee shops, seating areas, the central atrium. It actually looks like people use the place rather than that weird ghost airport vibe that you get with most sceneries. This kind of thing is stupidly detailed and costs you absolutely nothing. And you will have tons of routes to fly. Southwest Airlines dominates here, and you have over 32 plus destinations. I genuinely don't understand why they gave this away, but I'm not complaining. Maybe it's a tax thing, or maybe someone lost a bet. Whatever the reason is, go and get it before they change their minds. For the love of God, what are you waiting for? Go! Back south, way south, into Brazil. And if you've ever wanted to fly the Santos Dumont approach, the one with Sugarloaf Mountain blocking any chance of an ILS, and the short 1,350 meter runway surrounded by water waiting at the end, this is where you start. Brasília, Brazil's capital, the country's third busiest airport, and the perfect origin for that GOL or LATAM's shuttle route to Rio. Load up the Phoenix, set your arrival, and you've got one of the most rewarding short hauls in the entire sim waiting for you. The terminals are well modelled, it has animated jetways, handmade airport mesh, there's vehicles even moving around the apron, and it comes with custom aerial imagery too. The only thing is, just be careful with the Brazil World Update photogrammetry enabled. You need the included fix files on the download page. If not, then use the standard version. Only because using wrong ones can cause terrain bugs, so just double check before you install. It's honestly one of the best airports out there, and that's including any payware ones. It punches well above its weight. And let's be honest, you are flying this to fly to Santos Dumont. I've done it once, because I'm an absolute coward and that approach genuinely terrifies me. Sugarloaf Mountain doesn't care about your feelings or your landing rate. Go do it. Be braver than me. Low bar admittedly. Further south, and I mean properly south now, Tierra del Fuego, the island at the bottom of South America that cartographers basically drew as an afterthought. In 1999, an Air France Concorde landed at the southernmost international airport on Earth. Just let that sink in just for a moment. A supersonic aircraft touching down on a peninsula into the Beagle Channel, mountains on one side, and Antarctica 700 miles in the other direction. I don't know who approved that flight plan, but me, I respect them deeply. This is Ushuaia, and Track 991 has made it completely for free. The runway sits on a narrow strip of land almost entirely surrounded by water. Every approach, every departure, you are coming in over the Beagle Channel and the Marshall Mountains are looming. And the weather is unpredictable as well. Wind shear, crosswinds, everything that a 33-year-old male with 5 children and a complete and utter walking skill issue has nightmares about. PBR textures are great, and you get 2 versions, one with GSX jetways and one with the standard Asobo ones. But let's be honest, we know which one you're picking. Terraforming here was, in the developers' words, very, very tedious, so there are some minor taxiway issues for MSFS 24. Nothing that stops you flying, but it's worth noting about. But Ushuaia's real purpose is Antarctica, humanity's last proper stop before the ice. Fin del Mundo, the end of the world. A fitting place to stop really. And if you want to see airports that are actually worth buying, I've got Europe, North America and Asia covered in this playlist. I'll see you there, try not to crash.